Good morning, everybody. Welcome back for another Saturday Q&A. We are still actually sans Austin. He's still out with the kiddo on paternity, which we're loving, trying to give him as much time as possible. Today, I've got a guest, Joe Chidiac, who is one of our executive agents on the team, has been with us for a couple of years now, does a fantastic job, very highly reviewed. And again, here to answer your questions. I'm gonna let Joe kind of rattle off a little history on him in just a second. My name is Mike Perna, the CEO of the Perna Team with Keller Williams. I've been in the business just a hair over 20 years. When I say a hair over 20 years, it has literally been 20 years and 23 days.
Where's the hair?
I lost it in negotiations. Just a little bit. Every deal, just a little bit. And as always, guys, every question you have, throw in the Q&A. Nothing is off limits. I'd love to see a ton of questions this morning. All right, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, how you got into real estate, all of it.
Yeah, definitely. First off, I miss Austin. I wish he was here.
He is great.
Whatever got me into real estate, I'd say Austin and you kept me in real estate. So that's the start. He's a great coach. We're happy to have him back next week. So for me, maybe I didn't have a traditional journey, but I was in medical school for 2 years in Detroit. Kind of decided it wasn't for me. And following that, wasn't really sure what to do, having just, volunteered in hospitals and things like that. I didn't really have much experience in the job market. So I did a few things here and there, kind of entrepreneurial things in the city, getting involved in a couple nonprofits and startups and organizing events and just using, I think, just my people skills in different ways. Then I found myself serving tables at a restaurant. And then people have been telling me to get into real estate for years, even back when I was in medicine. And I finally took the plunge and took the test. And this was actually not that long ago. This was less than 2 years ago now. So I took the test coming up in April of 2019. Got my license at the end of May. Sat around and pretty much did nothing for 2 weeks until someone told me to join the team. And I joined the team, and then it was off to the races. And I closed about $2 million by the end of that year, about $11 million last year. And I'm on track to double that this year. That's just by my first quarter numbers alone. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
I gotta tell you that's an amazing success trajectory in real estate, which is awesome. In addition to that, I'm going to put you out there. You are one of the most helpful people on the team, and frankly, make my life a lot easier. When agents have questions, they're actually calling you more than they're calling me now, which is good.
Well, I think that's because they don't want to get into like an hour-long conversation about like the economy and stuff like that.
Okay. There might be some truth to that.
Michael Perna knows a lot of fun facts.
Yeah. Yeah. And that might have happened the other day where an agent called me and it was like 48 minutes later. It was a simple yes or no question. But that happened. So one question that I've gotten recently that I wanted to kind of tackle was actually on estate sales, which is nifty. And I don't know if anybody's going through this or has the potential to go through this, but when a parent dies or a relative dies, how do we handle the real estate portion of the house, right? And then Joe, what are your thoughts on that? Because it is in some ways a very traditional sale. In some ways, there are a couple of differences, and I can highlight those as well.
With the estate sales and just like getting involved in probate and things like that.
Yeah.
Luckily, the most recent one I did, there was no probate needed. Luckily, they kind of had their ducks in a row already. The son was the executor, and he was kind of handling things. And yeah, the daughter was also involved. It was actually one of our newer agents' family members. I think his grandpa's old place. So it worked out really nicely because, like I said, he was already set and ready to go, and we knew who the decision maker was, at least on paper. But of course, I kept the sister involved too. Mm-hmm. And we were able to get it done for them, and it's it was odd because like they didn't live in the house for a long time. They may have grown up in it, but they didn't live in it for a long time. So they didn't know too much about it. But, we made sure that we marketed it in the right ways and hit the right things. And we got it sold in the first weekend for over asking price. So
that's awesome.
But that's not always the case with estate sales. Sometimes they still got to deal with probate. So on the buy side of things, I've had to deal with that. My buyer was very interested in a home, but we had to wait for probate, and they ended up deciding not to do it. But that's not to say it's not always possible. It's also possible to just get a better deal because you find a buyer who is willing to wait for that probate. And yeah, there could be some nightmare scenarios, but for the most part, it's usually pretty easy. Actually, now I think about that other one in Northville we didn't think it was going to be probate because we thought that the husband and wife had been tenants in common when the husband passed, but apparently they were not. And so unfortunately the house was not only she had an interest in, but his estate had an interest in. And we had to get his will saying that she has all the interest and all these things. She had the original. Luckily, she was very prepared, but we had to mail it to the Wayne County Courthouse and we had to wait. And I had to negotiate with the buyer on Christmas Eve, mind you. I had to negotiate with the buyer's agent to keep those buyers on the hook and let them know, hey, we weren't trying to hide anything. These title issues come up last minute. And luckily, we work with a great real estate attorney on our team as well. And she was able to use her skills with her connections at the courthouse to get things moving along quickly. And we got that thing sold. And that was that 500,000 in Northville. So that was a win. And honestly, that's been most of my experience with estate sales. I don't think I've done too many. I think I don't know. I just haven't gotten involved in them, I guess. But there's always something to learn in each deal.
Oh, and there is. And you mentioned a couple of good actionable items and takeaways. Right there at the beginning, you had mentioned people having their ducks in a row. Guys, this is really super important. And I mean, I always hate to talk about the negativity or death or anything in that line or that in that way. And I'm also not going to shy away from it. If you guys, guys out there, if you've got parents or you've got somebody that could potentially not be with us, right? I am sure that person does not want any sort of a probate or a legal fight or excess taxes being paid for all their hard work through their life, right? And what they've saved up and what they want to will to their family, really. It is worth a couple of bucks to get an estate set up, to get a will that's locked and airtight so that we can avoid the probate process, okay? And what that looks like is, as an example, my own grandmother had passed about a year ago and we had to sell the house. We were able to sell the house with zero issues, zero court issues or battles or anything because we had a very tight estate written up. Right? It was very clear where the dollars for the house were going. So there could be no disputes. And because there were no disputes, it didn't need to go to court. Because it didn't need to go to court, we could sell it rapidly and frankly for more money. Because the longer that we've got that buyer on the hook and waiting for something that may or may not happen, because probate the judge can go any way on that thing, right? All the way to the point of saying, hey, don't sell the house. I've seen that happen before. All right. But the longer that we go, the less dollars back into that estate and that family's pocket. And whomever it is, I am certain that the hard work that they put in during their life, they want those dollars going back to their families. They most certainly don't want them spent on extra taxes, extra home payments, extra utility payments, taxes themselves if there's no actual estate set up, which puts people into a higher tax bracket on all of that. Right. So that was a very, very clear and important point. And to that end, my own parents, right? I mean, they're extremely healthy and they're in great shape. I mean, my dad's still climbing on roofs, doing electrical work and all the things. And I was 100% certain a couple of years ago that if something did happen, there were very clear lines on what was happening with their home just for ease of use. Right. So that's definitely one thing. Two other points that I'd like to bring up on estate sales, because estate sales are actually, well, three other points really, are actually just regular home sales. It's just signing on behalf of an estate. That's really the main difference, right? So whoever the executor is will be signing on behalf of the estate. Now, with that, a couple of things. First, a lot of times we're finding there are multiple siblings involved, and a lot of them feel like they've got to take multiple flights and spend thousands of dollars coming back into Metro Detroit or wherever the home is located to be able to get the work done. And that's not the case. That's not the case. Right now, we can do our remote closings, right? And what that looks like is on the day of closing, instead of having to fly into Michigan, get an Uber, go to the title company, we can actually get a mobile notary out to wherever the person lives, or a Starbucks, or whatever is convenient for that person, right? Saving the family thousands of dollars. Almost everything can be done remote right now. Second, we do have a couple of good clean out companies. So a lot of families are struggling with, what do we do with all the things that we don't want, right? The excess furniture, things like that. We work with 2 estate sale companies and a cleanup company. And multiple times we've been able to again, save the families a lot of time and a lot of cash by saying, hey guys, don't worry about this. We can get this handled. And frankly, for cheaper than the flights of all you guys coming in, plus hotels, plus all of that. And how we do that is we say, hey, once you have everything out of the home that you want, we can handle the rest. And we'll have an estate company come in and handle it all, right? Whatever they don't sell, they'll take and donate, right? And that's the deal that we've set up with them. And then further, we'll have a cleaning company come in and get the home professionally cleaned and ready for market, right? At that point, if there's an advantage to doing a little bit of work, like painting a room or replacing carpet, we can help coordinate with contractors there, right? Third and final point on that. And Joe, I'm sure your clients receive mail and letters to this effect. I know my grandmother's estate did. There are a lot of investors out there that are willing to come in and just write a check for cash and take that property. I am going to be upfront, and Joe, you know exactly where I'm going with this. I'm going to be upfront and warn everybody on this. These guys are looking for a 20 to 40% discount off the market value of the property. And that's how they make their money. Is it easy? Sure. It's easy. But and how much was that sale in Northville that you did?
That was the 500 one.
Okay. So let's say it's on the low end of 20% off is what that investor would have paid for it. How much money would that family have lost?
Around
$100,000.
Yeah, most of it.
Yeah.
Most of everything they were looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, because that family had
their bottom line.
Yeah. So guys, again, when estate sales happen, when they happen, there will be a ton of investor letters going out saying, hey, give me, I can take over the house. You don't have to do anything. I'll even deal with all the stuff on the inside, but I do want a nice $100,000 discount in this case. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. We can definitely handle it. We can help with it. We can get all of that done, right? And frankly, get you the money, which is the most important thing, and do it easily. Other than that, and guys, I mean that is really the kind of the bare bones on estate sales. Additional questions, of course, let us know. We can help you navigate or get to the right person. And if you have to deal with a probate situation, we do, like Joe was saying, we do have a great attorney on staff that can navigate that and has the connections at the different county courthouses to get ours through a little bit faster, especially during this time of COVID where a lot of the stuff is being done remote and there's mail-in deeds and all of these other delays. We can still try to push it faster because of our size and our strength and our attorney connections with the courthouses. We can get our cases bumped up, which is nice, which is always nice.
Yeah, it came down to the wire on that one, and we were able to rush the courthouse perfectly to reach that final day, or the deal was dead. So, yeah, the real estate attorney did a really good job of making sure that happened.
Absolutely. And a lot of times the deal is going to die, not because the buyer doesn't want the house anymore, but because they've got to go somewhere. Like a lot of people that are buying a home in that price range, they have another home that they sold and they physically actually have to be somewhere. They don't have a choice. They can't wait an extra 90 days or an extra 120 days, right? So what that looks like as well is, again, just going back to the dollars, right? Time is money. to keep that buyer on the line past that time where they would need to go rent hotels and rent storage and do double moves, we probably would have had to go back to that buyer and probably try to sweeten the deal by giving up an extra 5,000 or 8,000, which we most certainly did not want to do. Right? That's not in our seller's best interest. It's in our seller's best interest to push the courthouse. That's the seller's best interest. I'm going to shut this door. Yep. I can hear somebody walking around at the office today. I'm in the Royal Oak office today, which I love because I get to watch all of Main Street kind of going up and down. And I saw a guy, I thought this was really random. Saw a guy in a suit, like a full on, with the tie and everything. And he ran by in one direction and just ran back by in the other. I'm like, what is happening out there? Very curious. Very curious.
Sounds like a realtor.
It might be a realtor, but he didn't come into the office. I don't know. He's just running. Nice suit though. I don't know. If he wasn't running, I might have.
In your 3-piece suit.
Well, yeah, I mean, not as nice as mine, but I mean, it was a nice suit. He was definitely buttoned up wherever he was going. Yeah, but there is that. So one of those things I just wanted to talk about as well on the estate, because it's a thing we haven't hit before. It's a thing that people don't really address. And frankly, as life goes on day by day, people forget about the importance of having that planning, even if it's a years out or even a decade out or 2 decades out, but just being prepared and how little it takes to be prepared, right? Calling your local attorney and just saying, hey, can you write me up an estate? Most attorneys can get that job done in about a week. You notarize it, you're done. Easy. Apparently, we're getting spied on. Steve says he was a spy. And he might have been. He was just that dapper. Just that dapper. He could have been a spy.
He fit right in.
Definitely. And and speaking of, actually, that's a good trajectory. Dude, okay, I gotta ask you a question. Have you seen the new Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League?
I was supposed to watch it last night. My girlfriend convinced us to watch Minari. Is that really? Yeah.
Okay.
I'll watch it.
How was that?
But it was a good movie.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and to your point, you got to do what the girlfriend wants, right?
But Justice League looks good. Want to see it?
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, it was fantastic. It puts to shame the original cut, the original 2-hour movie. Oh my God, it's so good, so
it's
good.
Like free, right? It's free on HBO.
Yep, free on HBO. Yep. 007 on a mission. I like that. And Joe, I know we've had a couple of good situations kind of come up in the past 2 weeks with a couple of people. What's coming to mind that you're seeing in the market right now? Good, bad, or otherwise, working with buyers, working with sellers. What's on your mind?
Just in general, yeah. I mean, working with buyers, it's dealing with multiple offers. It just is what it is, and I think there's a lot of hesitancy on buyers sometimes to get into a so-called bidding war, but it's just kind of what's happening. For the most part, if a house is in good shape, priced appropriately, it's probably going to go in the first weekend as long as it's marketed properly as well. But if it needs a little work, maybe it'll stay a little longer. But for the most part, I think buyers need to be prepared with all the strategies they can do to win a multiple offer, which is why they need an agent like one of ours who can actually coach them through the strategies of winning a multiple offer. So, and I always will tell this to my clients, like, listen, there's 2 ways I can fight for you here. Like, it's either like going to be a non-multiple offer situation where I'm obviously going to try and get you as much money off of what they're asking and get you the best possible deal. And then there's the other side of things where I'm going to fight for you to win. Okay. And if that means that maybe we have to go a little above or whatever we have to do, put you in the best position, obviously not stretching you too thin financially or anything, but just to make sure that you're ahead of everyone else. I do my best to communicate with the listing agent and make sure that I'm presenting the strongest offer for my sellers and my buyers. And, sometimes they're hesitant to pay more, but then we just revisit the fact of, for the most part, they're all getting mortgages and rates are still crazy low. So some people are commenting that, they're going up now, but I mean, compared to a year ago, they're historically low, and it sounds like they're going to continue to stay pretty low. And that just balances out. maybe you're paying more for a house, but your payments are actually less than if it was cheaper house. If rates were back at 4% or wherever they were a couple of years ago. So that's the buyer side of things. On the seller side of things, it's been great for the most part, pretty easy because I'm on the other side of that thing, because we're getting multiple offers and we're getting sold quickly. But I don't think every house is going like that. And that's something I tell my buyers too, like, hey, you may find a house that isn't a multiple offer and we'll try and hunt that down. And it's not the same thing for every one of my listings either. The house needs to be in good condition and be in a desirable place, and we market it really well, and it'll get sold. But yeah, for the most part these days, it's been like after that first weekend and multiple offers, and it's been great kind of having to navigate through tens of agents, calling us and getting 20 plus offers, and me having to kind of negotiate between all of them to make sure that I'm getting the best deal for my sellers. So like that other one that I closed the other day, I helped them find that home in November 2019.
We're in Rochester, right?
In Rochester, 400,000 with $5,000 in concessions. So let's say they got it for $395, and then they turned around and decided they wanted to move back to Ohio, and we sold it it ended up being about 438, fully guaranteed appraisal, no inspection, free 60 days occupancy, like an excessive earnest money, 20% down, all those good things. And that was debating between 5 other offers, which, mind you, we would have had many more if my client didn't want to, was okay with still dealing with showings after the second day because she's got the 2 kids and everything. So we literally didn't have showings after Sunday night because we had enough offers at that point, and I got them the best deal. So, well, that was essentially $40,000 more after about 14 months.
Yeah,
that's how hot this market is for sellers, definitely.
Think about that, guys. $40,000 more, and that 60 days of free occupancy was probably worth $3,000 to $5,000 in just saved payments right there.
And then no inspection.
So if anything did come up on the home inspection, oh well, buyer's taking it as is. I mean, and frankly, and to be honest, we both know that buyer really played to win, right? They really played to win. And to that point, here's another side of the coin. What did you put the home on the market for?
$420.
So a $25,000 price increase over 14 months ago. Got to be honest, I think you did a great job with pricing the property. It was tight to the market to draw a lot.
I felt a little worried about it. I was like, uh-oh, is this a little too high? Like, I wasn't sure because the comps are just not catching up in time because the market just keeps increasing and increasing. But lo and behold, and again, the appraisal was fully guaranteed. Lo and behold, it appraised at value.
Well, and here's a fun thing that I've seen over the last couple of months is on 3 separate occasions, I've seen homes go on the market where real estate agents, not us, real estate agents put them on the market, right? And I know what they did because I went back and I did the autopsy myself. They used the comparable data that was available to them, which are homes that had sold 90, 120, and 150 days previous. Right. So there was no evidence of what the true value of the home had increased to. So they went ahead and put it on the market at, frankly, 5 to 10% lower than it should have been. And in 3 cases now I've seen where agents have actually raised the price of the home on the second or third day, trying to get back some of that money that, frankly, they were leaving on the table for their sellers. The reason why we need to have somebody with a lot of experience in this market for sellers doing this pricing is because pricing at this moment is not a hard and fast, here's the evidence, and that's all it is, right? That's what it used to be, especially during the down market. That was absolutely what it was. But there's a little bit of an abstract feeling, running the data out and deciphering the tea leaves, so to speak, as to what we should be on for. Because I guarantee you in all 3 of those cases, and part of the reason why the attention was brought to me was because we had buyers on all 3 of those homes that had made offers, and then all of a sudden the price increased. The buyers pulled their offers. They were disenchanted. I mean, and I'm just going to say they're pissed off. They're like, what the heck just happened? I mean, and the offers were actually higher than the price increase that they pulled, but they felt like the sellers were playing games, and they weren't. They weren't. It was just an agent that made a mistake in evaluating the property, and then they were fixing their mistake and putting it to where it should have been. But in doing so, at least one buyer on each one of those 3 homes, they disenchanted. The buyer said, you know what? I don't want to play games. I'm going to go look at a different home. And if there was one buyer on that home that did it, there were probably 5 others. And that's where pricing becomes especially important. And to your point, Joe, like that 420, you're looking at it like, okay, I don't have evidence. It might be a little out there, but you went with it anyway because your gut was telling you this is the right thing to do, given what has happened 90 days ago or 150 days ago. And you're right. And you're right. And you nailed it. You put it at an aggressive price, but the right price to generate a ton of traffic and a ton of offers that had to fight. And when people are fighting, they get emotional, right? So we're still seeing on the other side of it where some sellers are putting their home on the market too high. And then again, they're getting the one offer maybe, or they're having to do a price reduction. And buyers know this market is so hot that if a property is priced right, it should be selling and should be selling with multiple offers right now, right? So if we're going 20 or 30 days without an offer, then there must be something wrong with that house. And frankly, that's not the case. That's not the case. That's just, again, an agent mistake the other way, not doing a great job explaining to the seller where the market truly is. Not to be offensive to anyone when I say that, it's just the truth, right? I mean, Joe, you see it. I mean, there are still properties that hang out on the market 60, 90 days. What are your buyers telling you on those properties?
Even a week.
Yeah.
Looking for a week, they're like, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
I thought all the houses were gone in 3 days tops.
Yeah.
And they're right for the most part.
And they are. And if they're not gone,
and that's usually a pricing issue, or like a condition of the home or something. But for the most part,
marketing issue.
Yeah,
I've seen that happen before. I've seen properties that are in great shape, and I'm looking at them like, why didn't this thing sell? And then lo and behold, they end up. I've seen this one happen twice in this market, where they switch to a different agent, same price but different marketing strategy, and they get the dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed a couple where I actually looked at the MLS ticket and I was like, oh, it's a flat fee service. You know, it was just like it was someone who's not marketing you at all, and it's like you're doing it on your own on Zillow, and we know that doesn't work.
That's the truth, and we've got a very, very specific way that we bring our homes to market. And it's really a 5 to 7 day process to bring our homes to market properly, because the number one thing we know is, like you said, Joe, you're going past 3 to 5 days on the market. Buyers are starting to say, what's wrong with this home, right? So that's one side of the coin. That's a great point. The other side of the coin is, I need to be 100% positive I have every available buyer eyeball on that property in the first 48 hours so they can go see it and make a bid. Because if I'm just schlepping a home right on the market and maybe 20% of the buyers possibly see it, then you're only going to get 20% of the offers. As a seller, if you get 20% of the offers that you normally would, let's say this property should get 10 offers and it only gets 2, because that's the number of buyers that saw it to make offers because it wasn't brought to market properly with the proper marketing. I guarantee you're going to get less money as a seller with 2 offers than 10. Simple enough. In addition to that, you're going to get worse terms, right? Like the free occupancy and things like that. I've got a question I'm going to bring up. And then again, guys, while we're looking at this question, my name is Mike Perna. This is Joe Chidiac. He's one of our executive agents on the team. Thank you and welcome to the Saturday Q&A. Please, please, please bring all of your questions, real estate related, Zack Snyder and Justice League related, whatever you want. I saw it. I thought it was amazing, by the way. Just putting it out there. I'm going to put that out there like 5 times because it was just that good.
Watch Minari too. Watch Minari.
All right, I'll watch Minari. Yeah. All right. So Suzette says, how much of an increase predicted in single-family home values in 21 and 22 as people get vaccinated and society is safer? That's a great question. So in 2020, we saw in the Metro Detroit area, we saw a 14.2% increase in sales prices. Huge, just a phenomenal jump in values. 2021, and Joe, you tell me that if you're seeing anything different, you tell me. We're predicted to see about a 10% increase this year in home values. Is that about right? Based on, I mean, you're on the street every day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's like I said, everything's going for above asking price, and people are worried about appraisals, but they're just guaranteeing them.
Yeah, yeah.
They're paying more just to secure the house because it's competitive, and that's going to bring up prices in the area.
Yeah, and then going into 2022, I think we're still going to see that 10% year-over-year price increase yet again. So running that out on a $300,000 house today, about a year from now, the home will be worth about $330,000. About a year from there, it'll be worth about $360,000. And I know those sound like monstrous numbers, but that's exactly what we're seeing in the market. Because over the last 2 years, 19 and 20, we saw around a 22%, roughly, depending on what city you're in, around a 22% price increase over those 2 years alone, which is huge. Here's where we're at. And I mean, that this sounds like a weird way to say this, but society has changed a little bit, right? The world, we have been moving towards this work from home environment for the last 2 decades in a lot of cases, right? Internet speeds are faster. A lot of people can work from home. I mean, even General Motors has their engineering people working from home for the most part. And they're not even scheduled to go back into the office in July. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I'm not sure it's going to happen. I mean, I have a past client myself that's an engineer at General Motors, and he just moved up to Metamora, which is way the heck out. I'm like, dude, like making that drive down to the Renson every day, are you kidding me? And he's like, Mike, I'm not going back in ever. I'm like, well, what if General Motors says you got to go back in? He said, that's fine. I'll go get another job. I get job offers every day. Think about that, right? Because of that, just that one thing, people are changing their patterns of what they're buying, where they're buying, and when they're buying based on this new reality of work from home. Does that make sense? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
True. And everyone's looking to upgrade, upsize, because they need home offices.
Yeah. Another side nifty note. Over the last 12 months, this is going to sound like a super, super weird thing, but I read this in the Morning Brew the other day. We have had an increase in single family wealth faster in 2020. So more wealth was created and kept by families, their net worth, than any other 3-year period combined over the last 20 years. Right? And I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of that has to go to a lot of those family vacations. People didn't go on them. Eating out all the time, obviously people didn't do it. Right? In addition to that, we've got some large size stimulus checks, and we have a portion of the economy that was just clobbered, but the majority of the economy, no effect during the pandemic, right? Unemployment was centered around 2 sectors of the economy, which is mainly the hospitality service. But generally speaking, the rest of the economy was relatively unchanged. Yeah, and if anything, wages have gone up. All right, I've got another question here. Steve, do you think that is because the selling agents on other teams are allowing themselves to be lazy in marketing, or just an example of how much better we do things? Well, I mean, I'm just kind of laughing a little bit because that's such a loaded question, but it's a great question. Well positioned, well played. I don't know if I'd call it lazy. I think it's more of a belief system. So like the belief system out there right now is everything is selling, everything's multiple offers. So let's just go slap it on the market, right? As agents, we don't necessarily have to do a lot of work to make the sellers happy with a good price and good terms, right? And I think there's the difference of like we have, and Austin calls me the great tinkerer. We have calibrated, recalibrated, and continue to recalibrate how we're bringing homes to market and our marketing process, because good is not good enough, right? Because to the point, any agent with a license can throw a home on the multiple listing service and the home will probably sell if it's anywhere near reasonable price, right? Does that mean the home will sell for top dollar? Does that mean that the sellers are going to get the best terms? Does that mean it's even going to go to a closing? No, none of those things, right? I mean, and Joe, I'm sure you've got many examples of this, but I've got one that I'm thinking of off the top of my head where we've got a property that we're selling right now where, and I got involved in the negotiation myself, where during the inspection there were a couple of issues found where the buyer wanted $40,000 off the price. Okay, grant $600,000 home, so big home, big issues, right? This is an extremely nifty thing. So I took over the negotiation on this one because I use a lot of long form negotiation. Austin uses a lot of short form negotiation, and they're both great tools in the shed to use. Joe, I think you use a lot of short form negotiation as well, which again, it's so good. And not every circumstance calls for the same negotiation strategy or style. So I ran this play out 2 weeks, right? I ran this negotiation out 2 weeks, and my sellers, they're in the position where they don't need to move, they want to move, which is so good. So I had time on my side. The buyers on the other side, their home was sold. So every single day that I ran this out, they were getting pressured and closer to, frankly, having to go to a hotel or an extended stay or something like that, right? The end result of this negotiation was my sellers gave $1,500 on the inspection. Simple enough. I believe most agents, doing this for 20 years, and just the value of experience and experience in negotiating and experience in looking at all of the different parameters involved with a sale, not just the one issue. I believe most people would have tried to meet in the middle. But I also knew that even though that might have been the quote unquote fair thing, my job is to get my seller, in this case, the most money possible. Simple enough. So I ran that negotiation out long. There are multiple points where experienced, seasoned real estate agents that know what they're doing at a high level are extremely important right now. Good God, Logan. Okay. All right, I want you to know what I want you to hear what this has. And Suzette, hey, if you're an investor, it is a great time to be an investor because rents are also at an all-time high. And please reach out anytime. And I'll actually put my number in there. We are aggressively hiring because we have a ton of people that are looking to buy and sell property, and I don't have enough agents to service everybody. Just being completely candid with you. All right. My man, Logan, you're back. I love it. All right, Joe, do you know Logan?
I don't think we've met in person, but yeah, out of Birmingham.
Yeah, he's out of the Birmingham Keller Williams office. An amazing agent, amazing person, all around great guy. Love his glasses, and I love that photo too. Look at that. So he's telling me he would have just bought a $425 home warranty for him.
Oh, nice.
That's what I got for that. That's what I got for that. Yeah. Thanks, Logan. I appreciate it. Switching back over to the buyer side, what's your number one tactic, Joe, that you're seeing right now or using right now to help a buyer get an offer accepted?
Sure. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, these days.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
These days, it is unfortunately, it is coming down to the appraisal guarantee. That's like the most important thing, because people are coming in and they're throwing out, hey, I'll pay you 10, 20, 30 grand more for the house. But if you don't have the cash to back that up, the seller's probably going to take a lower offer because they got some of that appraisal guaranteed. And I know in theory, it's tough to wrap your head around it as a buyer. Why am I paying more than what the bank says it's worth? But I think we're still continuing on this trajectory. Like you said, home values are going to continue to go up into 21 and 22. And again, the whole idea of the interest rates being lower. So if you're paying a little more, it balances out. So buyers seem to be okay with it. Sellers at this point are expecting it, almost demanding it. And sometimes you just have to do what you have to do to win in those multiple offer situations, especially if you need to move. Then you need an experienced agent who can make it happen. I mean, the biggest thing for me, I think that we're worked is, like I always tell the team, and the newer people on the team that are struggling winning offers, is just over communicate with the co-op agent.
Yep.
Get to know what's important to that seller. Get to know that agent, frankly. Develop a bit of a relationship, because I think that in the end, just having the reputation that the team has, and then getting to know that agent and showing the fact that I'm clearly like competent when we're talking over the phone, that I know what I'm talking about. Maybe they feel like, oh, well, let me take this deal because him and his team are going to get it to the closing table, and that's going to be very important to the seller. The seller may not realize that. They may just look at the number, but if they have an experienced listing agent, they're going to explain to them, listen, yeah, this guy's offering you 30 grand over asking price, but he's not guaranteeing anything. And his agent probably doesn't really seem to know what he's doing. He's never even heard of an appraisal guarantee. So I'd say, yeah, appraisal guarantees and communication. That's what it's all about right now. But yeah, of course there's price. Of course there's, shorter inspection periods, maybe a family letter, throw that in there. Whatever you can do to put yourself ahead, to get it done. It's a tough market. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna run those points out a little bit because you brought up like 6 great things, which I love with the appraisal. And again, guys, here are the issues with the appraisals. So right now, I mean, as everybody knows, there's a lack of homes on the market, which also means a lack of home sales, right? So the data is 90 to 150 days old on what appraisers can use in a lot of cases to value the property. The problem being, appraisers cannot adjust for appreciation anymore. That ended in 2009. So the way appraisals were done in 2008 and before, the appraiser could pretty much do whatever they wanted. Actually, I'm going to be even stronger with that statement. Here's how appraisals were done in 2006. I would pick my own appraiser and I would call that appraiser and inform them of the value that they're going to put on the appraisal. I know Joe's laughing because he's like, what a world, what a world. It's like I know he's like, this is like Willy Wonka. This is amazing. This is like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's
not fair.
Yeah. But that's how it was. That's how it was. I mean, we were like the wizard behind the curtain. I mean, it sounds horrible, but it's so true. Because what would happen is I'd call an appraiser and say, hey, I've got this house I'm selling for $300,000. I have no evidence of it being worth more than $275,000, but I'm going to go ahead and need you to put that $300,000 on that paper for me. Can you do that? And they would either say yes or no. And if they say no, I say, thank you so much. Go back to the phone book, go to the next appraiser. Hey, Mr. Appraiser, Mike Perna. I have a home that's selling for $300,000. I'm going to go ahead and need you to put that number down. I just keep calling until somebody wanted it. Because again, if they didn't, we wouldn't order the appraisal through them and they wouldn't make any money. Right? And I'm not saying this was the right way to do things. This was the way things were done. And as the agent on behalf of yes, and I see that. I love that angry face because it should not have been that way. It should not have been that way. Agreed. I think we can all agree on that. And it was the way things were done, and it was what the sellers expected of us as agents to fight in any way we could to get that deal done, even if it meant influencing the appraiser. In today's world, the appraisals are done differently. So even the loan officers themselves cannot directly communicate with the appraiser. It has to go through a third-party system, which can always be audited or reviewed for any sense of impropriety, right? As it should. So now when appraisal goes in, right, there's a bank of appraisers that it could be assigned to. And then once assigned, then the appraiser goes and does an actual real job, right? And the appraisal management company, their job, sitting between the loan officer, realtors, sellers, buyers, all of it, standing between them and the appraiser, is moderating all of that communication. So one thing we've seen, of course, is we've seen low appraisals. And frankly, we've seen some appraisers go the opposite way with it, especially coming out of the down market. Steve, I'm going to get your question. Don't you worry. But we've seen some appraisers, because they're scared of licensing issues, go too conservative with their appraisals, right? And I know you've seen that, right, Joe? Like some of them, Yeah, some of them we go and do the research ourselves, and we're like, wait a minute, this guy's coming in 15 grand light, and it's true because the data's there, and we've actually, and this unfortunately has caused sometimes some appraisers because they're scared of licensing issues.
All right.
Oh, you're good. This sometimes have cost buyers and sellers deals and cost them great properties, and the reality is, probably 24 times in the last year, we've actually had to order a second appraisal or switch mortgage companies for the buyer because again, the appraisal came out low and we had to get a second appraiser out there that was willing to actually give us the real value. And that's actually happened. So we've kind of swung the pendulum on the other side of it. Not a bad thing. It's just a thing we need to be aware of, right? The family letter, again, super, super important because a lot of people, they want to sell their homes because they've raised their kids there to a great family, right? So super, super important. Logan, I know you use those as well. And you're right. That relationship with that other agent matters because you can have a great offer, but if there's no confidence in either the agent or the lender that's going to get to a closing table, if I've got the seller, I may counter a different offer where I've got a lot more confidence in that lender or in that agent, because at the end of the day, the number on the paper is no good if it doesn't close, right? And when you're selling a home, that's super important. Okay. So Steve, any advice for working with an FHA buyer in this market, specifically as they have little to no cash for appraisal guarantee, a lot of sellers not even considering FHA offers? What can I do to help them find a home in this market? And Joe, I know you've run into this a couple of times. What's your number one piece of advice? I know mine is.
I mean, I'm writing an offer right now. One of the things I'm doing, yeah, they don't have money for an appraisal guarantee, but they do have money to be able to say up front, I'll cover the first few $100, maybe $1,000 of potential VA repairs, which again, most that I see is like some chipping paint you got to take off for the VA, and then, it costs a couple $100 or something. So as a seller, they look down on FHA VA offers because they think, oh, well, not only does this person seem to not have money because they're putting 0% down as a VA or 3.5% as an FHA, but I'm going to have to do a bunch of repairs because there's like a secondary inspection now that has to go by like federal or veteran guidelines.
Yeah.
And if you say up front as a buyer, if they think that it's safe for them financially to be able to say up front, I'll cover the first 500 in repairs, then in the end to the seller, I guess it's kind of the same as a conventional, because there aren't any of those potential extra hurdles or repairs. So that's one of the things that I do to help them. Other than the usual, just over communicating and writing a good letter, and yeah.
No, and that's a great piece of advice, and you're right on that.
And again, when it comes to over communicating, it's just like letting them know the story. Like, hey, listen, this guy's solid. He's got his job. He's secure. He ran into a credit issue earlier. With his COVID layoff for a second or whatever. He's secure now, but with that credit hit, it put him just below the threshold for conventional, and like that's it. Right. And then like they see, oh, okay, so this is not someone who like is barely getting a loan. It's someone who is pretty qualified. So just trying to fight for your buyer to get that FHA thing kind of overlooked in any way you can.
I agree with you on that one. And having that lender place that call is super, super important.
That too, yeah.
Super important because that will give the sense of confidence in the offer. I love that, throwing the $500 on there, because that appraiser who's doing the FHA inspection, they may come up with, there's 3 steps, so there needs to be a railing.
Yep.
Something as simple as that. I mean, $100 at Home Depot solves that issue, and it can be a pain in the butt because for the sellers, they've got some conventional offers where they don't ask for it. So if we remove that, now we're putting us on more of an even playing field. That's a great point. One thing that I also agree with is leaving the offer in as a backup offer. I've seen multiple times where a conventional has fallen through and our offer was taken, whether it's conventional or FHA or whatever that looks like, or VA, but letting the other agent know, hey, we're going to go ahead and leave ours in for 7 days during that home inspection as a backup offer, or 10 days, or until the appraisal comes in. Because we can always, if we find a different property, we can always remove that offer from backup offer status. Right. And you'd be surprised, guys. I mean, I'm going to throw this out there, but so what I'm seeing right now is a little bit under, and this is why this is why I keep on stumping the thump on go to a close, go to a close, go to a close. It's super important. Just under 25% of accepted offers are not making it to the closing table for one reason or another. And that could be inspections, that could be appraisals, that could be mortgages, not to be offensive to the loan officers, but mortgages that should not have been pre-approved, right? Using the spaghetti theory of mortgages, let's just throw as many pre-approvals against the wall as possible. Some families will get a home, some families won't. But at the end of the day, as a lender, I'll get paid. Right? And that's not a great way to do business, but it is the way some people do business. So leaving those in as a backup offer is super important in that case, Steve. Absolutely.
Well, to your point about lenders as well, what I'm currently doing actually for my client who, and I told him, I'm like, listen, if this doesn't make sense financially, I'm not trying to empty your pockets here, but I know you love the house. You want to make a strong offer. Do you think it's possible to make any sort of appraisal guarantee? Mm-hmm. Not really, unless I know better what my closing costs are. Okay. We spoke with his current lender. Closing costs were a little too high. We're getting him over to Silverline, the lender that we work with out of our office. He's going to be able to get his closing costs down so that we can now actually make a stronger offer and include that appraisal guarantee, which again, that appraisal guarantee may not come into play, but now he feels a little more secure financially and the seller will feel a little more secure that the sale will actually go to close since the buyer actually has money to cover a potential appraisal discrepancy. So
the guy just ran by again.
The suit guy?
The suit guy. Same guy. I got it.
Wow.
Hilarious. I'm just like
getting sweaty under that jacket at this point.
Yeah.
That's a lot of running.
But still. I'm kind of curious. If I see him again, I'm going to knock on the window and bring him in. And I want to see what's going on with the suit guy. I really do. But yeah, Joe, no, to your point, and that's a great point, not leaving any rock unturned. And again, no, dude, he's not running this time. Can you see him?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
He's a real guy. I thought this was all made up in your mind.
No. Now he's just walking. But this is the fourth time he's kind of gone back and forth. This is actually really funny. But to your point, looking at all. Oh, now he's going to drive to wherever he's going.
Stay here. Stay with me. Here we go.
All right. I'm with you. This is amazing to me. Yeah. Am I in Royal Oak? Yeah, that's it. Am I in Royal Oak or Quantico? I'm definitely in Royal Oak.
Yeah.
Although it kind of looks and feels like Quantico for some reason. No doubt. But anyway, no, to your point, we don't leave any rock unturned when we're working with our buyers because, like, as an example, looking at the lender themselves and saying, hey, are these guys really getting the best mortgage for them? Are they getting the best possible rates, the best possible closing costs, all of this? Because if we can use that money towards an appraisal guarantee, that will help on that FHA sale. And frankly, if they don't need it towards the appraisal guarantee, it's just more money in the buyer's pocket, right? So to your point, Joe, even if they don't need it, and let's say it's a $2,500 guarantee they can do now with the reduction in closing costs because they've got that cash available, they don't need it for the appraisal guarantee. Well, when you're buying a new house, you're also going to want some new couches. You're going to paint something. You're going to want to get a little work done. And that $2,500 could go to offset that, right? Yeah. And again, a lot of times, lenders are giving very good interest rates and very good closing costs for the most part right now, but that's not always the case. And that's why we do recommend getting a second opinion, and why Joe's carrying him over to Silverline for that second opinion, and was able to find that they could reduce their cost a couple grand, which is pretty cool. Last thing on that, Steve, I would also look at properties that have been on the market over 7 days, because I know at that point there's no competitor, right? Like if it's been on the market over 7, and to Joe's point, if it's been on the market over 7 days, there's no competitor, which means that they would be willing to look at an FHA buyer, and you could probably negotiate a couple of bucks off, right? And that's not a bad thing. That is definitely not a bad thing when we're working with our buyers, because part of this is, yes, we're in a super competitive market, and most homes are going multiple offer, but not all. And even when they are going multiple offer, our job is, again, to get the best price we can for our buyers when we're working with the buyer side of it. And it's not always the high price that gets accepted. It could be the terms themselves. You know what I mean? So getting into great relationship with that other agent, finding out, do they need more time at the property? Because I've had that happen before, where I've gotten an FHA accepted because they were able to give the sellers 60 days after closing to live there, and the conventional could only give 15. So our offer, even though, and it was actually a couple thousand lower than the other offer, our offer, even though it was a couple thousand lower, was accepted because in the seller's eyes, it was actually more money. Because if they were going to get the boot after 15 days, they'd have to go and have everything packed up and moved by movers. All that goes into storage. So there's a cost there, cost to move it, cost for storage. They'd have to go into a hotel or an extended stay or something. So there's cost there. And then once they do get into their next place, they've got to move everything back over. And every time you pick something up and put it down, there's a charge. So there's more cost there, right? So sometimes it's not about that top line number. It's about the other terms that win. So definitely get in there and find out what's important to that seller other than price. Because a lot of times price is a factor, but it's not the only factor. Yeah. All right, guys, we've got just a couple of minutes left. Any questions anybody has? Anything burning on your mind? Anything at all? Anything real estate related, non-real estate related, runner guy in a suit related, anything? Well, while we're waiting for a question to come in, what's on your mind, Joe? What have we not hit that you want to hit? What's burning?
I was wondering about what you were saying earlier about 06 and appraisers just appraising it whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
And so I want to know if you have a concern now, and with everyone appraisal guaranteeing and things going for higher, if there is some sort of repercussions to this in the future, if prices are too inflated right now, is that going to have some sort of effect like it did when things were being overpriced in 06? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a great question.
Now that there's a lot that went into 07 and everything, but it's not just that. But I don't know. Do you think that could lead to something if things are being assessed at too high a price, or they were assessed at the right price, but the buyer guaranteed it, and now there's higher property values in an area, but then it backfires because they shouldn't actually be worth that much, or whatever that may be?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. I've got another one which I can answer quickly. Are there any Hail Mary moves left to lower property taxes due to COVID? I'm going to be honest with you, Suzette, I have not seen anything. I've actually done some research around this. I have not seen anything about lowering property taxes. The cities have been highly, I don't want to say unwilling or unmotivated, but they just haven't really done a whole lot during this COVID time. And, again, that just goes back to all those city services still cost the same money as it did a year and a half ago. The police, fire, schools, all of those costs are still there. Maintaining roads, all of it. I think the federal initiatives are, and some of the state initiatives, especially for businesses. I know the state of Michigan has tried to help businesses in a couple of different ways. That's about as far as that's going to go. Just being completely candid with you. All right, getting to Joe's question. I think and this is my kind of prediction. We'll see if this actually happens. In the 24 and 25 markets, we are going to see a level off of home prices. And this is I can go on this tangent for easily an hour, but I'm going to keep it down. But here are the bare bone basic facts. So home prices have been increasing 10 to 15% per year. In some years, let's say 7 or 8% from 2012 on. Those are things we know, right? Wages have been increasing around 3.8%. So home values are outstripping wages. Inflation has been going around 3.1%, right? So wages have actually started outstripping inflation, which is a good thing, which means we can buy more things with less dollars and blah, 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 right? At some point in time, the way I look at it is inflation, wages, and home values, the way they play together is inflation and wages is just a guy walking down the street, maybe in a suit. Home values are the dog. Always wants to run ahead as far as they can, but the dog's on a leash, and every once in a while gets a little bit of a yank and a pullback, right? Up until this point, we've only seen 2 times in American history where home values have dropped 10% or more. 2. And both times they had nothing to do with the real estate market, technically. Like if you actually look at the reasons why, they were federal stock market and employment related, right? And frankly, people were getting mortgages in from 1999 to 06 that frankly should not have gotten mortgages, right? They were getting approved on Ninja and Nina loans, which is no income, no asset, no proof, right? That's all gone away, right? That's all gone away. So to answer the question and put a fine point on it, I think we're going to continue to see home prices go up 10% this year, 10% next year. I think we're going to see more like a 5% in 2023. I think we may see a 2% or a 3% in 2024 and a 0% in 2025, 0% in 2026. But then we're going to start seeing home prices move back up 3 to 5% again after that, because at that point, wages and inflation will have caught up to it. In the meantime, the question is, okay, well, if home values aren't going up, because this is the other question we're probably going to get, is it worth buying a home? And the answer is yes, because you still have 3 bonuses involved with a home that is not going up in value. First one is the mortgage interest deduction, right? So you can write off the mortgage interest you pay on a home loan. For most Americans, that means $2,200 to $3,000 back on your taxes per year, right? 2, you're paying down a loan, right? And at the start of most loans, if you look at the average mortgage size in Metro Detroit, you're starting out paying down the loan around $300 a month. So $3,600 per year pushed in your direction equity-wise, right? 3, for the most part, mortgages right now are cheaper than rents. Like here in Royal Oak, I will say this with full confidence, homes that you can buy and pay $1,300 to $1,500 on a monthly payment, including taxes and insurance, are renting between $1,600 and $1,900 per month. So just that alone, saving another $200 or $300 a month. Let's call it $200 a month. So we're looking at an $8,000 per year push in that homeowner's direction versus a renter's direction. $8,000 per year over 10 years. That's $80,000 give. That's huge, even with no appreciation on home values whatsoever. And of course, there's the fourth and final one. It's your home. It's your home. You can do what you want to it. You can paint the colors, paint the walls orange if you want to. You can do whatever the heck you want. You can add a deck, remove a deck. It's your property. It's not just a house. It's a home, and that's different. Yeah. Okay, I kept that down to like 4 minutes. That was pretty good, right?
Yeah. That was less than I expected. That was good, though.
I tried. All right, guys. Looks like we've got all the questions answered for the day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Joe, thanks for being on today. Next week, I've got a gentleman, Andrew Vanettis, coming on, who is a lender with Silverline, and he is going to take all the mortgage questions. So bring all the mortgage questions next week. Also, he's going to run through the 4 basic types of loans, what the qualifications are, and what that means, okay? So other than that, everybody, make it a great day. Enjoy the sunshine outside. It is gorgeous out. Brunner guy is not back yet, but I'm sure he will be. And that's all I got, guys. What do you got, Joe?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Enjoy the day, everybody.
Bye.